It's impossible to live a day in the life of someone else's shoes. So how can we judge? It doesn't make sense, it's not fair. You can get a gauge, you can get a perception on how things are traveling, and you can try and form a judgment, but it's never going to be 100% true. It's a necessity, to be fair. I was going to say necessary, but it's a necessity of life for us to know what not to do. What do you mean by that, Al? One of the key points is judgment. See, the hard part is when I'm speaking lots of words and people don't listen to all of it, they just assume that I judge them when I specifically say I'm not here to fucking judge you. When you judge someone, and I'm not, when I talk about my ads and I hit home with some hard truths, they're very powerful because A, they're a truth that could be real in your life. It doesn't have to be your truth, but more often than not, it is, because we're all part of the same cloth where the patterns are very similar, men. You're not alone. So one, when I'm observing actions and what's happening inside of the lives of so many men that we've connected to change and help influence to create change in their life, what we observe is a self-destruction that happens firstly, from outwardly judging others, because guess what that does? It immediately converts when the chips are down to you judging yourself. It's why I don't judge anyone. Like, I'll observe actions and be like, look, you're not being a fuckwit, but those actions are highlighting or representing the identity of someone who would do that. You can change your actions. It doesn't mean that you're going to maintain that identity. So when I'm observing what's happening in so many men's lives, please understand it never comes from a place of judgment. Never. If you're behaving like a fuckwit, it doesn't mean that you are. But when you observe those actions, unfortunately, a lot of us, by not building the second point, which I'll talk about, self-value, we get triggered. So all of a sudden we feel like we're being judged. Here's the hard part, men. As crazy as it is with some of the ads and what I do and some of the judgment I get from others, I don't judge these men. Guys who are threatening and life threats and all different things and come and attack us in HPF, I can't take that personally. They don't know who I am. And on the flip side, when I see men not rising up and becoming the leaders they can potentially be, I don't judge them for that. This is the greatest way you can cut poison from your life. The very first one is you really got to work on judgment. Don't judge others. You know, life is a shitstorm as the rain's pissing down right now. It really is. For most of us, there's a very long list. And those who don't have a list quite as long, you haven't tried hard enough and you've protected yourself, and ultimately the shitstorm will hit sooner rather than later. That's why I'm addicted to growth across family, self and service. When you judge other people, like I said, unfortunately, what you're building, even though it's outside of you, you're building a pattern, you're building a habit, a behavior, a belief system. You are literally building a part of your psychology, your subconscious mind towards a skill set that when the chips are down, the self-sabotage, the tall poppying, the parasite inside of you, the little voice inside, when the chips are down, you are going to adopt that exact same fucking skill set and you're going to turn that on yourself. So when I'm talking about cutting the poison from within, when someone cuts you off, road rage on the road, when there are all these different points, someone has a comment, says something, it's okay to not align with every single person. I'm never going to be politically correct. Like, I can't stand that stuff. Like, it's too much of protection to go, hey, we better walk on eggshells. Fuck that shit. Like, you have something to stand for it. I'd rather stand for something than fall for everything or anything. But essentially, men, when we fall into this slippery slope of taking from alignment to judgment, we create assumptions, we create expectations. Say, for example, inside of the household, something doesn't happen, the family walks on eggshells around you because your temperament and nature, or the flip side, you've lost your power and you become someone who's submissive and you suppress your emotions and you just get walked all over. When this happens, both of those are definitely not ideal outcomes, but essentially what happens is assumptions build. And these expectations and assumptions that build quickly convert into disappointment because the action and the outcome wasn't there in something you don't even control. You have assumptions and expectations over the outcomes of your wife or your children. It doesn't happen. That becomes disappointment. That becomes judgment. Two key things to focus on, men. Don't judge others. It comes for all of us. We all have triggers and we all are quick to judge. Catch yourself in the act, build that awareness and try and pull that away. It's impossible to live a day in the life of someone else's shoes. So how can we judge? It doesn't make sense, it's not fair. You can get a gauge, you can get a perception on how things are traveling, and you can try and form a judgment, but it's never going to be 100% true. So as much as I cop a lot of backlash and criticism, it's far outweighed by support and the amount of fathers we've helped over many years. So I'm never going to stop doing this. I'll keep turning up. That's what we're here for. I live to serve you, men. But essentially, for a lot of the guys that come from a position of weakness in being a victim and not taking ownership over their own life and building this trait into their children, that's a part of me that my blood can boil if I adopt a line of judgment because I know that their children deserve better. But essentially, I know when to wash my hands and go, you know what? That's not mine to judge. They walk their path, I'll walk mine. 2 key things to eliminate and cut poison from your life. Don't judge other people. When you catch yourself and stop it. Because when the chips are down or you've got no one else to point the finger at, guess what? That exact same skill set you're building, which is not a good skill set to have, will turn on you. Then all of a sudden you start judging yourself. You start beating yourself up, pushing yourself down. Oh, of course I was going to fucking happen to me. Of course I was going to fail. I'm not good enough for this. I won't do that. I can't achieve that. All of a sudden you didn't even know the possibilities and the opportunities that you have because you can't even position yourself, your energetic output, your posture, how you carry yourself as a man through life to actually create and open up opportunities. You don't even know they exist because of the self-sabotage and the judgment that you've put on yourself. Anything you express and project outwards is something that can turn inwards on you on a dime.